Hey guys, welcome to the TOWTalk Podcast. I'm Denise. I'm here with Neil. And in this session, we're going to go over some local issues. There's some stuff that's going on with the sales tax. And you were talking to me off camera about, I guess, sales tax revenue is being cut somehow. Maybe you could kind of
So,
explain what's happening.
a lot of people may not understand this in New York, right? What happens, your property taxes are only part of the revenue that go to your local municipality that go for roads, water, sewer, like police, like those infrastructure, those basics, your building department, your accounting department, the things that make your town run. Okay. The other one of the other larger parts of that is your sales tax. Okay. Sales tax is based on a revenue sharing, contract that
Right.
that the county has with local municipalities. So what happens is when sales tax is collected, it gets sent to the state. Okay. The state then sends the county its portion. Okay. Now, there are a number of counties that don't actually share that sales tax with their local municipalities. They keep it all for themselves, right? However, this county, Orange County, is actually very generous. It's probably one of the more generous in all of New York State. And those sales tax help keep your property taxes low. Okay. That helps with your property taxes. Okay. So any cut to sales tax would obviously result in the fact that, well, you need to make up for that revenue. So either you're talking about a cut in services or you're talking about a increasing your property taxes, right? Sort of like what we heard from Memdani, right, in New York City, where he said, my budget's upside down. There are only a couple of ways to really fix this, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, when it comes to local municipalities, that's your property owners, right? Your
Right.
property owners are the people. So what happened is that the county enters into an agreement with the cities, and then whatever agreement they come to with the cities, they share with the towns and villages as well. It turns out that the percentage, okay, that had been agreed to with the cities, okay, which was supposed to be shared with all the local municipalities, which we've had in place now for decades, right? Like this has been ongoing for a long time. This New York State came in based on some law, okay, saying that it can't be more than 3%. Okay.
That goes back to the county.
In other words, that gets shared with
Right.
with
That
the
gets
local
shared. That's what I mean.
would that get shared from the county to the local municipalities. Can't they're basically capping it at 3%. You got to love the state government. They love capping shit, right? Like even if it benefits you, right? It's like, no, we're going to make sure that you don't get benefited too much by that, right? So
So
this
where
is
does the
this is
rest of it go?
well, we don't want to go. We don't even want to get there yet because the
Okay.
county gets to basically keep whatever doesn't get distributed to us. Remember, this is just them stepping between a contract between the local municipality and the county. This is the state doing that. Okay. Right. The state isn't taking anymore. They're not giving anymore. Right. Like this is what they give to the county. And then this is what gets shared with the local municipalities. That's essentially the way it goes. Right. And now all of a sudden, like, this would represent a 20% cut to sales tax to every local municipality in Orange County.
That's substantial.
That is very substantial. So for a place like the town of Wallkill, okay, that means in the first quarter, okay, alone, they're going to get $300,000 less than what
Wow.
they had budgeted for.
And just a reminder for folks that are watching that are going to go, apeshit in here. That budget that we're working off of was voted by the previous administration back in October or November of 2025 before Frank came into office. Just want to make sure just to keep you up to date there. So now he
Thank
now
you very
has
much for clarifying that. Yes.
Yes. So now we have $300,000 even less to work with.
Yeah, it could be pretty so here's the thing, that won't be corrected anytime soon. So we're hoping, the hope is, right, that the county legislature can pass a home rule law and send it up to the state, and it will be approved by the state, right? So that means it has to go through both, legislatures and signed by the governor, right? Allowing us to be able to, do the contract the way we should. But that poses a lot of problems because, as we've seen, I mean, the budget was due April 1st. We still don't have a budget in New York State. Shit
Wow.
doesn't happen very fast. Like everything happens really, really slow. So
So
we're
let,
yeah,
let me
sorry.
ask you a question. You mentioned a home rule law.
Yeah.
What can you explain for the audience what that is?
In other words, that if there is a state law, it allows for municipalities, counties, right, to basically declare home rule and say that they're exempt from that law.
Got it. Okay.
The simplest way to put it. I mean, listen, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not giving you the exact legalese behind it, but
Yeah, but
don't quote
just
me on
just
that.
so that people
But
kind of
right.
understand roughly what that means.
So and that, but this is devastating, right? Because now
Yeah.
you have your budget, right? Which has been, like you put forth your budget, okay, and now all of a sudden you're talking $300,000 less for a municipality like Wallkill, okay? Now,
Well, things
remember,
are going up.
costs are going up while you have a budget deficit. Remember, they budgeted a $2.8 million budget deficit, okay? Right? Now, on top of which, they ran out of money at year end. So they borrowed from this year's budget already. So like I mean, and now you got to remember, you get these quarterly payments. Sales tax gets paid quarterly.
Yes, I know.
Okay, $300,000 for 1 quarter. For
Oh,
4 quarters,
shit.
yes, there you go. For
Oh,
four
shit.
quarters, yeah, you could be talking close to $1.5 million. Okay, that
1.2.
the one it gets, the first quarter is usually the lowest. It
Right. Once we
usually
get into
goes up.
holiday season, it goes up.
Right.
Yeah. School
Usually goes up.
season.
So you're talking somewhere around like 1.4, $1.5 million. Okay. All right. Of loss and revenue to a municipality like the town of Wallkill. All right. And even if it does get fixed, even if everything goes as fast as humanly possible, we may not get distributed that money, right, until the year end or maybe next year. Okay. So like this presents a really big problem to municipalities. Not only that, local towns and villages, right? Like we are all doing, like the villages are starting their budget season now, right? If you're a town, you do your budget season come September. How do you plan if you're waiting? If they still haven't allowed you this exemption, how do you plan?
Right.
Do you go out and tax your residents more, right? Because you don't have the revenues coming in and you don't know. There's that uncertainty. Okay. And so this is the reason why I bring this kind of uncertainty up, and I'm talking about this so highly, is one of the criticisms that we've seen from the town supervisor here in the town of Wallkill, Frank D'Andato, right? That was brought up at a meeting was the fact that he is not taking into account, right, these variable revenues, right, the sales tax in his accounting, right? In terms of, right, balancing his budget and figuring out the numbers, because these are fluid numbers and they could
Right.
change.
Yeah.
okay? And as I've just explained, okay, how Mr. Carr, you want Frank to, account for that 20% that we're not getting anymore. And we don't know if we're gonna get back. We hope we're gonna get it back, but we don't know if we're gonna get it back.
Wow. So, so first of all, when did this come out about the sales tax? How recently was this?
This past week.
This past week.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, so now, I I believe there was a town hall meeting on Thursday. Was there a town hall meeting?
Oh, yeah,
Or is
yeah, I
that
believe that there was, yeah.
okay?
Um,
So I unfortunately I didn't get to see it. I know that sometimes you watch. I didn't know if you'd seen it,
I didn't
if it was
watch it.
brought
No,
up there.
I did not.
All right,
I didn't wa
all
It
right.
wasn't brought up there as far as I know.
Okay, yeah, because this is big. This could have an impact on property taxes. Um,
What people don't realize is how delicate your local municipal budget is, right? And how your property taxes relate to that. And that's one of the reasons why me and Denise started this podcast,
yes,
right? Was so that we can shed some light so you have an understanding. If something gets cut, there's no makeup for a local municipality. There just isn't. There isn't
yeah,
a pool of money that we can access, right? That all of a sudden makes it all better. We're not the state, we're not the county, there aren't these big slush funds out there, right? That
true.
that people can partake in. You know, Local municipalities, it's we understand every dollar, right? Like that comes out of your pocket has to be managed accordingly. Has to be managed to the best of everybody's ability, right? You don't want to waste $1 because you know exactly how it can end up.
Mm, yeah, and this is quite a challenge considering, last week we had a lengthy interview with Frank Dendanto where one of the biggest issues that he had managed to address was, people wanted the bulk pickup, which is happening next month, and so he had to do some budget adjustment to make room for that because the previous administration did not budget enough money to cover the cost. They actually budgeted less than what it cost them last year, which makes no sense with costs going up. And so here we are. Now we have this huge budget fault, shortfall that's going to come as a result of the sales tax revenue that we're not going to get.
Well, if you think about it, right, we started the year in the hole roughly about what $3 million in the hole, and now you're adding another 1.3, 1.4 million, right? So I mean, it's I don't want to say it's bleak, but it, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and the previous administration was neglectful. There's no other way to
Yeah.
look at it. They were extremely neglectful in their fiduciary responsibilities towards the taxpayers in this town. Period.
So, um, I imagine that Frank has his hands full. We have not spoken to him since hearing about this. Um, I would like to see how he plans to address it.
I don't think
What are
anybody's going
things?
to
You know what?
address it at this point. I think everybody's
What
just
are
hoping and praying that it doesn't that they're going to get a quick solution to it. But you know,
so he? Do you know for sure? Is he the one that is he filing for this home rule law? Do you know?
no, no, that's the county. The
That's
county
the county.
legislature will do that.
Oh, okay, okay. So do you
The
know
county
if they've
legislature will do that. Yeah, I
and
think they're doing that. They'll do that this week.
okay, all right. So,
There'll be a vote
um,
on it this week.
based on your knowledge, has that been successful in the past for similar situations?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
100%. I
Okay,
mean,
so there
what there my my feeling is this shouldn't be an issue unless it becomes an issue, right? Like, I mean, with the way politics are today, you have no idea, right? Like,
good
you
point.
know, Politics is really strange these days, and you don't know what can happen. My personal feeling is the public should be aware, and we should be putting pressure on our state officials and the governor to say, we want this passed,
Yeah.
and we want it as fast as possible.
All right. Well, then we're going to have to wait and see on this and keep you guys up to date on what is happening with the home rule law. And if and when it gets filed, which seems like that's going to happen this week, we will bring that up in next week's session. Um, and until then, we'll just kind of hope and pray our property taxes don't get hit by this. And yeah, all right. So
If it's not one thing, it's another.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just the
You know,
way we're dealing with costs rising left and right, and we could definitely get into a whole other conversation on that.
there's one easy solution for the governor. You can tax the fucking billionaires.
Hello, there you go.
There you go. Tax the fucking billionaires, and let's help the people out in the state.
Yeah, I mean the billionaires certainly they make enough money off of us as it is, right? We're buying their shit. We're subscribing to this. They're subscribing to everything at this point, right? So they're making money hand over fist, not to mention getting massive tax breaks at our expense, getting contracts, government contracts at our expense. So yeah, tax the fucking billionaires. Seems like the right thing to do. All right, folks. We've got more content coming to you, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Might have an announcement coming up in the near future about something exciting. We're working on that. Yeah, we're working on that. We'll be coming around with that soon. So please like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. You know the drill. And remember, every Tuesday is our live stream, Tuesday at 8 p.m. All right. We'll see you soon. Take care, guys. We love you.
Peace out.